Minister, credit unions are now more important than ever as households and family businesses are experiencing the cost of living crisis. Credit unions are providing vital services to help people get through. However, they're still constrained by an outdated policy framework that's limiting their capacity rather than helping them serve their communities. Minister, I appreciate the work you've been doing in this area, but when will the necessary reforms be brought forward?
Thank you very much, Deputy Carnes, and I want to recognise the huge work that Minister Sean Fleming has done in relation to this, where he's put incredible energy into assessing where we are from a policy perspective with a part of our economy he understands very well in our credit union movement. And he regrets that he can't be here today to take your question, but he's representing us on government business in Brussels at the moment. So the government recognises the importance of credit unions as a provider of community banking services. The programme for government contains very clear commitments to review the policy framework, to enable and support the credit union movement to grow, to support credit unions in the expansion of services, and to enable the credit union movement to grow as a key provider of community banking services. The review of the policy framework has now been complete, and in July the government approved the drafting of legislation to implement the proposals, and the legislation has received priority status for publication in the Dáil's autumn session. The policy proposals contained in the review address a number of different important objectives, and cumulatively the desired outcome of these objectives is to strengthen the role of credit unions as a provider of community banking and to further enable credit unions to focus on priorities that will better position the sector to face the challenges and opportunities of the future. So Minister Fleming, in developing this really important work, has met the Irish League of Credit Unions, the Credit Union Development Association, the Credit Union Managers Association, the National Supervisors Forum, the Registrar of Credit Unions, the Credit Union Advisory Committee, the CEO Forum, Collaborative Ventures, and as I do my own work across the country, virtually every credit union I meet has met Minister Fleming. He's done huge work in this, and I do believe that the proposals that he's brought forward are very, very meaningful. I know they don't deliver all the community, the trade union sector wants, but I do believe they're capable of making a difference, and the government will do its best to speedily legislate for them.
Thanks, Minister. Households and businesses are in crisis now, many of them, and credit unions are ready to provide vital assistance. So I'm wondering if you or Minister Fleming are looking into what measures that you can bring in immediately to allow them to take advantage of their place in the community and their balance sheets. And I realise that you and the Minister are pursuing larger policy reforms, and that's so welcome. But are there any aspects that could be accelerated now to help the sector and communities in the more immediate future? So 77 credit unions offer current accounts, including Access and First South in Cork South West. With the closure of bank branches and entire banks, that service will be increasingly important, especially in rural areas. So what steps, I'm wondering, are you taking to help more credit unions offer those current accounts? And also the Strategic Banking Corporation of Ireland has 19 credit unions engaged as SME lending partners. That's a very welcome development to support and enhance the sector. Could you clarify how you're helping other interested credit unions enter into that arrangement?
So you're dead right. 19 credit unions, for example, in the early part of 2021 participated in the COVID-19 credit guarantee scheme, and great to have those individual credit unions participating in this scheme. And beyond that then, we had 5 credit unions that were announced as participants in the Brexit Impact Loan Scheme. And if I look at the participation of the credit union sector within our lending landscape at the moment, the SME lending that they now are engaged in has grown by just over 15% year on year at the end of June. So I'm seeing really positive signs taking place with regard to that at the moment. And at the moment, overall, 77 credit unions are approved to provide current accounts. So in terms of the measures that we are bringing in, are there any ones that will make the quick and immediate difference that you're looking for? In truth, what we're bringing forward are ones that will be of help in the medium term. But what I would continue to encourage is credit unions to engage with their regulators so they can broaden the range of services that they want to provide. And very quickly, in conclusion, Cahir, look, what I'm very encouraged by is as I meet so many credit unions, their desire to do that now is really increasing, and so many of them at local level represent the opportunities that are now open to them as we see other regrettable changes take place in the supply of banking services to our country.
Thanks, Minister, and I would encourage you to look at the reforms that could be put in very quickly. You'll be aware that the credit unions have again topped the customer experience ranking for the 8th year in a row, and even improved on their score in the process. They're also continuing to innovate and to adapt to changing circumstances. For example, the Cultivate programme offers loans for things farmers need, like machinery, improving farm buildings, or even just helping with cash flow. In West Cork, the Bantry Credit Union recently bought the former Bank of Ireland building, which is so symbolic of the changing retail financial landscape, especially in rural areas. And they're just some of the really positive and dynamic things associated with credit unions at the moment. So I just ask you to imagine all they'll be able to do when the financial regulations allow them to provide increased services and competitive loans to families, farms and SMEs.
Deputy, and it's very, very positive to hear the example you have of that there with the acquisition of the Bank of Ireland building in Bantry. I actually know the building you're referring to, and I can only imagine that will have a really positive impact of on the presence of credit union services to your constituents. And of course, what we will continue to do is work within government with the sector to try and support it in an appropriate way in the development of its services to our economy. I really believe there is a rare opportunity ahead for this movement, which many of them appreciate, and the changes that they're making in two different ways. Firstly, as the cost of living becomes more intense for many communities at the moment, I believe the services that our credit union members offer will become even more needed and appreciated. And then secondly, as you've just shown in your example from Bantry, as other change happens as in the provision of banks, credit unions are taking their place.